from players, and not just how they compete on game day, but also I'm with them every day. So regardless of what anybody else says, I don't really care, okay, because I know the young men in that locker room, and I've got confidence in them.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Billy. I feel like that's going to be like a Dan Mullen clip of, we'll talk about recruiting season. So that clip is going around a little bit this morning of Billy getting a little jazzed up with one of the reporters. Again, he's just frustrated, as we all are, and expressed a little bit of it. But we got a lot to go over today, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, tough loss against FSU last night. We had a call-in show, as we always do, where the fans called in and gave us their thoughts and opinions of how they felt everything went. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my feelings on digesting their thoughts and, again, being at the game and how I felt on everything. And then Napier got a few questions asked about discipline. And it was kind of interesting because we've talked about it before, where I think in a few of these shows where he gets asked a question and he plays dumb, right? He plays possum, plays dead, and goes, "Can you elaborate on that?" And it's like, what do you mean, can you elaborate? You know what I'm talking about. And he was asked again, and Edgar actually tweeted out saying, like, why does this continue to happen? And Zach Adele even retweeted it. So, look, those guys kind of get a lot of smoke from Gator fans because they're usually the ones that are kind of pressing the needle a little bit, but I think they're kind of right, because every time a question's asked, Billy plays dumb, like he doesn't know what's going on. So we'll get into that. And then Delatorre, who will be on the show this Wednesday, Nick Delatorre asked a great question about just the progress of year 2. How does Billy feel, the progress that's been made? We'll talk about that. Players react. They tweet out a little bit. We've got Eugene Wilson tweeting, Princely, a few other people. So we'll see how they're reacting. Let's see what goes on. Obviously, we had a guy enter into the portal. If you haven't seen that already, somebody has entered into the portal this morning, so we'll talk about that as well. And then the rebuild. Somebody asked them, hey, do you feel that we're on pace? Or are we on track where we should be up until this point? His answer is very interesting. So we'll get into all of that. A lot to go over, like I said. Going to be a great show. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you are brand new. And let's dive right into it. First order of business, how are the Gator fans feeling? How are we feeling? So again, we had a big call-in show last night. It was bumping. We had a ton of callers waiting. I appreciate you guys all being patient and waiting. But ultimately, that might still Billy there. Everyone felt we started the question off. Hey, should we wait for Billy? Should we allow Billy to stay around? Like, where's your head at? And most, I would say, 80% felt that Billy should stay. Right? Let's see what he does this offseason. Let's give him a few games in the beginning of the season. Even though we know the schedule is going to be a gauntlet, let's see what he's able to do. Let's see the progress. And that's kind of, I think, where the most of the fan base is. I think there's a lot more people that are not Team Billy after last night. And look, I think he lost more points with me last night. And I know that he did, because being at that game, it was very frustrating to watch. I even had, some FSU fans give us a call this morning, and we were talking about it. And they're like, look, you guys had that game won, right? You were up 12-0 against the number 5 team in the nation. You've got to step on the throat. You've got to capitalize, and we just didn't do that. So a lot of things that we dropped the ball on, which I put fully on Billy. And I think the defense did a phenomenal job holding that team to 200 yards, 220 plus yards total offense. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better outcome on the defense side of things. And offensively, we played scared. Not scared money don't make money. We just played scared money last night, and it was very frustrating. But there's a few fans that are done with Billy. They've been done with Billy though for a very long time, and it's just kind of, I think, put the icing on the cake, right? Straw on the camel's back to really snap it in half. But again, most of the fans that called in, this isn't, again, a majority of the fan base, but people who watch the show still felt like we need some time. They're okay. They don't want to start all over again. And I understand that feeling, right? The last thing you want to be is where A&M is right now. Can't get a coach to take the bait, right? Mark Stoops was supposed to take it last night with Kentucky, and then he came out and said, I'm not going, actually. Just kidding. Kentucky decided to give me more money, and I kind of like my cush job here. They don't expect too much like you guys would at A&M, so I think I'm going to stay here and hang out. So I don't want to be in that predicament. You got a team that has all the money in the world. They can't find anybody. Last thing Florida needs to do is start over in a time where the portal is a gauntlet and all these things are changing. So that's, I think, kind of the feel. Again, how the portal happens, we'll have to reconvene this in 30 days. If guys are leaving that we didn't expect to leave, and he doesn't make any changes on the coaching staff, that might change very quickly. So I said this last night on the show. Although it's sad the season's over, I'm honestly a little upset. It goes by so quick. We wait for it all year, and then we bitch about it the entire time that it is here if it doesn't go our way, and now it's over. So, but the offseason is going to be just as electric with all the moves that are happening with the portal, with coaching, and just recruiting class, how we finish it out. So should be an exciting one. And DJ Lagler coming in, obviously that'd be fun to follow in the offseason as well, those early on practices. So good stuff there. All right, let's hop into the discipline question. So Billy Clueless, right there, he was asked about the disciplinary issues that happened in the fourth quarter, and Billy goes, "What are you talking about?" Let me play it, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Billy, the fourth quarter just kind of got away from you guys a little bit with discipline and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you kind of
Discipline.
point?
What specifically are
Well, I
we
mean,
referring
50
to?
yards of penalties. And
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
But
what do you kind of point to with that?
Yeah, I think it's a team that has, I think that tonight it was a handful of decisions or a handful of execution opportunities, missed plays. It's been a little bit different each week. I think a number.
So obviously, I mean, one of the discipline plays was the targeting call that happened. I think there's a few maybe holding plays. I honestly, to be fair, I don't remember the stuff that happened in the fourth quarter either. So there is times where he gets asked the question. He goes, "What are you referring to?" So it's like, are you not paying attention to the game? And this goes back to like if you had an offensive coordinator, maybe you would notice these things. And again, to be fair, I felt the sliding call. Yes, it was an egregious hit. I mean, they knocked him uncold, or laid him out. Those are so close, or so bang bang. I asked people about it because I saw it live, and they didn't play it back up on the screen for a while because we didn't know how serious Tate Rodemaker was hurt. So they didn't want to keep playing that, obviously, in respect of him. So those are always tough for me, right? I think you have to know because again, if you start to slide down, you should know better. But I think ultimately what they're frustrated about is just the fact, again, Billy Napier wants to know exactly what fourth quarter discipline issues is referring to. Come on, man. So Mark Long tweeted that and tagged at Edgar because Edgar's the one that asked the question. And Zach said this was like the fifth time Napier's pushed back on a reporter asking about an elephant in the room this season. And so that I do agree with. Anytime there's been just like a blatant question of like, "Hey, why did you have 12 guys in the field?" He goes, "What do you mean with 12 guys? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?" Right? So it's like, don't make this harder than it has to be. And we talk about this all the time, right? Where we ask questions, or if I were to ask the question, I'm like, "Yo, Billy, what's up, bro? You got homeboy knocking his ass out. Why didn't he hold off on that?" Right? That's how I would ask the question. But the reporters are much more respectful and professional than I am, so they have to ask it a certain way. And then when they are respectful about it, Billy hits him with the dumb shit answer of like, well, what do you mean? This is where we're going to go. This is what you want to do, Billy, right? You want to play the game? And it's like either he's just that clueless, right? And because he's not aware of the game because there's so many things that he's trying to focus on that he misses those things. And maybe he'll see it later on because typically he'll say, "I'll have to watch the film and I'll get back to you," which is a fair assessment. There is a lot going on. But when it happens multiple times throughout the game, you got spitting on players, right? Big time third down plays. We're getting a holding call or an offensive side call. It's like, dude, those are just little nitpicks that it's like, hey, what are we doing here? We're 12 games into the season. That stuff should be cut in half. We didn't have too many false starts, which was good to see. But look, I'm on the reporter side. I know these guys usually get a lot of flack, and they're not fan favorites by any stretch. But I'm supportive of their questioning here. And Mark Long, I'm not a big fan of him because he had the video of him saying, "I'll be long here after Billy," but I think he's got a little bit of a point here on this one, which when we start agreeing with the bad guys, not calling these bad guys, but you know what I'm saying. things are getting a little out of hand, I think, if you have to say. So look, a lot of issues of concern. There was a question last night because the young man spit, Lyons, I believe is his name, spit on the defensive player. I went back and watched it. Geez, it's like worse. It's the shoe throw, right? The shoe throw. People are gonna say which is worse. Just another iconic moment for Florida to be trending around Twitter, right? Another graphic. Should he be kicked off? I don't believe he should be kicked off. Again, unless there's a multitude of actions that he's had up into this game of him acting out like that, then sure. But you're in the heat of the moment, right? You create these guys to be prepared for war. They are going to act out from time to time. So I don't condone it. Right? Don't get it twisted, but I don't think we should kick him off the team by any stretch of the imagination. All right, let's talk about progress. So Nick Del Toro, again, he'll be on Wednesday's show. We'll ask him some tough questions. We'll put the grill to him a little bit, see what he has to say. He says basically I think he does a good job of asking the good questions, but not leaving it open to what do you mean? Although Billy did hit him with what do you mean, I think, last week. He goes, hey, after a second season, you're worse than where you were last year. Where do you feel the progress is? Take a listen.
The record from year 2 is worse than year 1. What do you see from your team or from the people in the program that there has been progress made and that you're still heading in the right direction?
Well, I think the youth in particular, I mean, I think, and look, I think it's important that we all understand that, we'll have a good nucleus of players coming back that have significant experience next year, whereas, evaluate the roster going into this year. I think that's important. I think look at the teams across the country that are having success. They have veteran football teams, right? They have a number of players that have been in the program for a number of years. We need to do that, right? We need to retain players. We need to continue to add quality players, and then we have to get better in-house at teaching, developing all parts of what we do. So that's what we're going to do.
I think this is the best answer Billy's had in, I don't know, the entire year, right? Youth. How do you define the progress? Well, yeah, we're a little worse than last year, but look at the youth on this team, and that should excite us of what's coming back, which I've alluded to multiple times on the show of, hey, although we're frustrated, if we're able to keep this team intact, they're able to build, learn together, and grow. That's exciting. I do agree with the fact that a lot of teams that are having major success this year have been together for at least a year or two and, have been building for quite some time. Those things are all true. FSU, a big one of them that I don't feel is going to be successful next year due to the fact that everyone's going to be leaving. Washington, huge question mark there. Oregon State, their coach just left, right? So all these teams that are having made good success have been building and also did a phenomenal job in the transfer portal, which he did allude to as well, that, hey, we've got to continue to build in the recruiting class. We also have to be aggressive in the portal. So it's almost like I felt like he finally gave us an answer that we've been looking for. Hey, we've got a young team, which is exciting, and if we can keep that thing intact, we can do some recruiting. We can get better in-house, right? Developing, coaching, which that's going to be the biggest question mark outside of the portal. How are you with that aggression? Because again, I talked about things that you can and cannot control, right? Because everyone wants to go back to Mullen and the team he was left with. Like we're past that, right? We got to kind of let that go. Keep pointing the finger. We got three fingers pointing at us. I get it, and I want to say that, and I'll give that to the youth excuse because the team is so young because we did have to do this whole transferring process. But now you have this ability to go be extremely aggressive in the transfer portal and make up for lack of areas that you're struggling in to be competitive. I'm not asking you to win a championship. I'm asking you to be competitive. And I believe if we're a little more competitive in the transfer portal last year, we win 3 more games this year than we did, right? We're able to pull things out that we weren't able to. And that goes back to the line, being more aggressive on the O-line, right? If we have just 1 or 2 more players that are just that much more effective, which we had a guy that I think ended up going to USC. I don't remember now, but there was a guy who we just never got on campus. We just didn't move quick enough. I don't know how he's doing. Would be interesting to go see how he is performing. But again, I would believe he would just be a huge asset to the team just because it's a guy that's been playing for a long time. He could come in and fill right in, and who knows what we would have been able to do with a better offensive line. So that was the best answer. Great question as well. And it is a fair question. Like, you're year 2's in and feels like we're going backwards to an extent. What's your answer to that? So kudos to Nick Del Toro for a great question. And again, he will be on Wednesday. So be sure you guys come hang out with us and take a listen to what he has to say about everything with that. So next up, we've got, is this what you expected? Was this part of the plan? So somebody kind of doubled down on Nick Del Toro's question. And I think this answer then frustrated me. But you may see it differently. So I wanted to play it for you, give you my thoughts and opinion about it. I kind of wanted to digest it a few times before I gave you my thoughts on it because I can kind of see both sides. Again, I just felt like it wasn't the best answer. But let's take a listen, and then we'll go from there.
To that challenge and the rebuild process, do you feel like you guys are maybe where you wanted to be, where you expected to be through 2 years? Are you hitting the benchmarks that you wanted to be hitting by this point?
Well, I think ultimately the record is what it is, right? But I think listen, there are things that, without question, okay, I think that we can do better, right? And I think we made some adjustments year 1 to year 2. We need to continue to make adjustments. I don't know that there's an answer to that question, if that makes sense.
Okay, so here's why I don't like it, because I believe I can give you the benefit of the doubt that you may not, there isn't always a direct answer to, hey, do you feel that you're where you want it to be, right? Because there's outliers that could cause you to not be where you want it to be. However, for as organized as this man is, for as organized of how I've heard how he is, you come in with a plan. I know this man has every hour and every minute scheduled to the day, to the point. So somebody like that, to say that I can't answer that question of where we want to be, I don't believe that, because you have, if that's the case, then what are you just going, you're going blind, right? I would like to say, hey, yes, there's some areas that we're where we want to be. There's areas where we don't want to be. Ultimately, right? We'll follow the Billy path here. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball here because we should have had X amount of more wins. I predicted us to have this many more wins. He may not think that way, but I don't know. I just feel like you can't say that you can't answer that question, because it was a very great question, especially for somebody who is as organized as you are, who has a game plan, who talks about the plan, who talks about, hey, we're ahead of, earlier this year, which we got excited about on this show. He's like, we're way ahead of the progress. We're doing great things. I even said we're ahead of the progress with how we were handling recruiting, right? He even spoke to, look, it's our second time through this. It's the second time going through this process. We're much further along than we were before. He felt like he was making progress. I understand if you can't say, hey, the record may not be able to tell an entire story. That's fine, right? If you want to argue and you want to come out here and say, yeah, we're right on path, and somebody goes, well, what about the record? You can argue the record doesn't explain things, because sometimes you win a close one here or there, and I'm okay with that. But to say you can't answer the question, Billy, that either tells me that you're not where you want to be and you don't want to say that, or I don't know. Again, maybe I'm overthinking this here, but I didn't like that answer. I felt like there should have been more to it. I believe you should have a pretty good gauge of where you're at. Yeah, this guy's made this progress here. This coach has been doing this. I expected by year 2. You're the CEO. You have to have a projection of where things should be. And it may not always hit where you want it to be, right? So you may have huge expectations and you may land right here. Or you may have, expectations, you may land up here. But I need to know where we at on that bar? Where we at on that progress bar? For you to not know where we're at on that progress bar, I don't believe it. Calling BS. Wish I had a BS buzzard. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you feel like it was a BS answer? Do you feel like he should have a better idea? Or am I being a little too harsh? Am I still frustrated about last night's loss and I'm just out here just swinging from the hips? I don't know. You guys let me know. I'm sure you will. All right, next up, we've got Players React. So we've got a few guys that tweeted out after the game. We also had Jonathan Odom, senior. He entered to the portal as of this morning. So good for him. Happy to see that he's going to be able to move on. I'll read his thing here in just a moment. But Eugene Wilson tweeted this out. No clue what it means. I don't like it. Jersey's off. It's not a peace sign. It's a cross the finger sign. God's plan. God, please tell me what that means. Princely with the damn. Arliss has shake my head. Got to be better. Will be better. So love that. That seems positive. But Jeremiah Smith posted on his Instagram a picture with Tim Tebow wearing some Gator gear. Said the GOAT. Hopefully Tebow did some work last night, boys. Talked to a few recruits. Maybe did some magic there. That was a good move by the boys there to get old Tim Tebow in there. So I thought that was pretty cool to see Jeremiah snapping a pic with him. But, I mean, hell, I don't know, man. If I'm Jeremiah, what am I looking at going, I'm going to go play for that offense. I get it now, dude. And I'm not trying to be negative, but damn, I've been pumping this damn thing up all year long, and it's tough. It's tough. It really is. But yeah, this is kind of where the everyone felt with it. And then again, Arliss, he tweeted out, not Arliss, excuse me. Jonathan Odom, he tweeted out as well that he would be leaving. He's entering the portal. He said, Dear Gator Nation, after much prayer and consideration with my family and those closest to me over the past few weeks, I'll be entering the transfer portal as a grad transfer with 2 years. Wow. Of eligibility remaining. I'll be completing my degree, graduating from the University of Florida, and walking this December. As many who have followed me my journey know, I have had many ups and downs, but one thing I know is I gave this university, the team, and everything I had every time I stepped on the field, and will be forever grateful. I want to thank Coach Napier for what he's done for the team and the university, to my teammates, my brothers. Some of the best memories of my life I will spend with y'all. From going to the battle on Saturdays to spending time together away from football, I wouldn't trade these memories for the world. You guys will continue. Let's see. Also, Coach Brewster, Pigler, Frank, Sale, and Callaway for all developed me into the player and the man I am today. I also thank my training staff that have been there for many times and when needed. To the fans, I want to see if you said anything kind of juicy. Nothing too much. So, tough loss there. Big time. 2 years of eligibility left. Surprised we can't find a spot for him. I don't know if we wanted him. I know he hasn't played too much. He came off of an ACL last year in December, and he played week 1, but hasn't played too much this season. Obviously, Hayden Hansen, Arliss Boardingham, they probably kind of elevated themselves, and then we got a Amir Jackson coming in on the recruiting cycle. So maybe sees the room getting a little too thick, and he's not going to have a home. So good guy though. Obviously we've been following him. He's a senior. He walked last night, so I thought he was gone anyways. And he had 2 years of eligibility left as a senior. That's nuts. So good for him. Wish nothing to him but the best. And hopefully this the portal doesn't get too busy. We'll see how it plays out for the rest of the year. But boys and girls, I do want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in this year for these shows, for our call-in shows. Obviously, we'll continue to have shows throughout the season. The off season, we'll always do our Wednesday show, but these shows that we have on Sunday and Mondays will evolve a little bit due to the fact there is no more games and there won't be many press conferences of Billy saying nonsense after the game, and we won't have too many reaction shows. But we'll have to do some call-in shows to get a pulse of the nation, I believe, throughout the season. But again, I do appreciate all of you guys. It was a blast being there. The wife got to go her first night game and to go against FSU. It was my first FSU game that I've ever been to. So hell of a time. I was around about FSU fans. I got a newfound appreciation for FSU fans. The ones I sat next to were pretty cool. I was literally sandwiched in between a couple of them. I couldn't believe how many I was around. And it was cool to kind of chit-chat. It was very respectful of, like, we kind of knew how we felt. We didn't want either person to win, but we were appreciative of each other's space. So thankful for them. I would rather sit next to that guy for 3 hours than Steve and watch an FSU game. Let's just put it that way, and I just met him. But yeah, you guys be good. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. It's going to be a busy offseason. We'll see how it plays out. It's in all kinds of weathers, right? You guys be good. Love you.